The wind that night blew backward, carrying the scent of rust and burned salt. Along the coast of Mbinda, a village crouched between two black cliffs.
Don't touch her.
Torches flickered like a row of watching eyes. The old muttered prayers into bowls of seawater. Children were dragged indoors. Doors slammed shut as if something outside could hear and answer. It was the last night of the lunar cycle, the moment when, they said, the spirit realm opens its eye. At the edge of the shore sat Nuru, a diver whose skin was scored by salt and years of descent. He was the only man who dared the Keme Trench, the forbidden pit said to be the dwelling of Mami Wata, the sea goddess. His chest rose and fell with defiance. Once, he had said aloud before the fishermen's council, "If the sea truly has a god, why does he leave men starving? I'll dive to his vault and take what's mine." The wind had carried his words, and the sea had listened. The drums from the salt shrine began to beat slow and heavy, each strike like a nail in the night. From the cliffs, the watchmen shouted, "The waters are turning, the sea's angry." But Nuru didn't stop. He tied a stone to his belt, checked the rope, and leapt. The ocean swallowed him. Cold hands closed around his body, the weight of water, of silence, of eyes unseen. Down he sank, deeper until light no longer reached. The world became pulse and breath, and the drumming of his own heart. Then movement. Among the shattered coral, a shape shimmered. A woman tangled in a fish's net.
Don't touch her.
Her tail glimmering like molten silver. Her eyes were open, wide, filled not with fear of him, but of something vast and ancient behind him. Nuru swam closer, slashing the ropes with his blade. The net broke. The moment her body was free, light burst from her skin like spilled moon fire, blinding him. He dragged her upward, coughing as they broke the surface. Rain hammered down, sharp and metallic. Thunder split the sky in two. The woman lay in his arms, gasping, her gills fluttering like dying wings. Her voice came soft, almost lost in the storm. "Do not keep me beyond nightfall. The sun must see me return." But when he looked toward the shore, the waves had risen, and the storm was too wild. He carried her into a cave, lighting a small fire of driftwood. Outside, the sea roared. From far off, the old watcher's voice carried through the wind. "Nuru, let her go. You break the law of Mami Wata. She'll curse the blood in your veins." Nuru's jaw tightened. He looked at the trembling creature before him, neither woman nor fish, but something heartbreakingly human. "If I let her go, she'll die," he murmured. "And if the goddess is real, let her prove it." Lightning flared. For an instant, the cave filled with the color of fire and bone. The woman's scales gleamed. Her eyes reflected the storm. She whispered, breath thin as mist, "You do not understand. I belong to the realm without dawn. To keep me is to hold the sea itself hostage. The ocean remembers every touch." Nuru laughed softly, bitterly. "The sea has taken everything from me. Let's see what happens when I take something back." Outside, the waves struck the cliffs in slow rhythm, like drums warning the living. The tide crept closer to the cave, cold as a blade. Every drop that touched her skin glowed faintly blue as though her blood remembered the stars. Midnight passed. The fire died. Her breathing slowed. He sat beside her, watching, torn between awe and fear. The wind howled through the hollow rocks, carrying a song, a woman's voice, ancient, sorrowful, and infinite. When dawn came, the world was wrong. The air was still. No birds, no insects, not even the crash of waves. Nuru stepped outside and froze. The sea was gone. The shore stretched far and dry, an endless plain of salt and sand. The horizon gleamed white, empty, blinding. From that silence rose a sound, one single sigh, deep and wet, from somewhere beneath the crust of the world. Then the tide surged back, fast as a beast, painting the sand with spirals of dark foam, the mark of the sea's covenant. Nuru stumbled back, heart racing, but his defiance did not break. He lifted his face to the roaring sky and shouted, "If you are a god, come and claim what's yours." The answer came as a single drop that struck his shoulder, hot, metallic, and thick. He touched it. Salt and blood. The law is broken. The spirit realm has marked its debt. The sea will reclaim what was stolen in blood, in salt, in soul. 3 days passed after the sea's retreat. Nuru did not die, though the others said he should have. He was found unconscious on the rocks, the woman gone, the tide still licking his feet as if tasting the last of him. When he woke, her scent still lingered, salt, coral, and storm. His wrist bore a faint red ring, like the mark of a chain. On his chest, resting over his heart, lay a single scale, no larger than a coin, glowing faintly with trapped light. He touched it and heard her voice, soft as an undertow. "Keep it only to remember, never to trade, but hunger makes prophets blind." The famine that year devoured Mbinda. The fish vanished, nets came up empty, and the king's tax collectors demanded gold the sea would not give. The villagers whispered, Nuru had broken the ocean's pact, and now the goddess was punishing them all. Nuru heard the whispers and hardened his heart. If I give back what she gave, my people will still starve. But if I sell it, we might live. He walked to the capital, to King Adal's court, carrying the luminous scale wrapped in goatskin. When he unwrapped it, the hall filled with light green silver, alive. The courtiers gasped. King Adal's eyes gleamed. "The sea's jewel," he murmured. "They said Mami Wata's tears could buy kingdoms. I'll give you your weight in gold for it." Nuru hesitated, then nodded. The bargain was struck. Gold, food, fame. For a while, the village rejoiced. The starving were fed, the drums beat again, and Nuru was hailed as the man who took mercy from the sea. But the sea does not forgive, it only waits. That night, as the village slept, the air changed. The wind came from nowhere, cold, thick, whispering. The fires went out by themselves. The children woke crying from the same dream. A woman's song under the water, and blood swirling like ink. By dawn, the first sign appeared. The salt in the pots turned black. Then the fish bled from their gills. By noon, the sea withdrew once more, dragging the boats into dry sand. The world smelled of rot and copper. The elders gathered in the square, fear carved deep into their faces. One spoke, trembling. She knows. The sea knows her gift was sowed. Thunder rode without clouds. The ground shook. The horizon swelled. Nuru ran toward the cliffs. As the first wave rose a wall of water higher than the temple itself, and within it, her face, Mami Wata emerged from the heart of the storm, her hair streaming like living kelp, her eyes twin mirrors reflecting all his sins. Around her, the waves moved like serpents, hissing. "You sowed what was sacred," she said. "You took the light of the sea and bartered it for gold. Do you know what that light was, Nuru? My breath, my life." Her voice was not angry, it was worse. Calm, infinite, final. You made a choice. Now the sea makes hers. The waves struck. The land split. Half the village disappeared in a single heartbeat, swallowed whole. When Nuru rose from the water, choking, he saw the bodies pale and slick, tangled in nets, eyes open to the grey sky. The sea was red. The sand hissed with boiling foam. He fell to his knees. "Please, take me instead." The goddess floated closer, her form shifting, sometimes woman, sometimes wave. "If you would offer yourself, then you must give back what you stole. The jewel you sold carries my essence. Without it, the balance dies." Nuru's breath caught. "The king, he keeps it in his vault." "Then you will return it," she said. "You have until the next full moon. If you fail, the salt will drink your blood and your name will vanish with the tide." She raised her hand. Water coiled around her arm like a serpent. When her palm opened, a mark flared on his chest, a burning spiral of salt and blood. "This is your seal," she said. "It binds you to the ocean's debt. Break it, and the sea will rise to claim your bones." Then she was gone, leaving only silence and the slow, pitiless rhythm of the waves. Nuru clutched his chest, gasping, the sword searing into his skin. The villagers who survived stared at him with terror and hate. One shouted, "You brought this! You made the goddess curse us!" He said nothing. There was nothing to defend. The goddess's voice still rang in his ears. "Return what you stole." That night, the drums beat again, not in worship, but in warning. They called it the sound of the sea's justice. The pact is broken. The wrath has begun. Nuru must descend not into the sea, but into guilt, into the heart of what he traded. The goddess waits. And so does judgment. For 7 days, Nuru wandered. He moved through ruins of salt and silence, his body marked by the burning spiral over his heart. The survivors of Mbinda avoided him. Children cried when they saw him. The sea refused to touch his feet. Each night, when he tried to sleep, he heard whispers through the salt-wind voices of those drowned, calling his name in the rhythm of waves. Nuru, Nuru, the sea remembers. By the 8th day, the villagers had made their decision. They formed a hunting band, fishermen, priests and widows, all wearing white ash on their faces. They followed the trail of salt that Nuru's curse left behind, a path glimmering under the moon like a wound in the earth. He ran, not from fear, but from despair. The goddess's words haunted him. Return what you stole. The pursuit. He fled inland, through the mangrove swamp, where the roots looked like black hands clawing from the ground. The villagers' torches flared behind him, glowing like angry spirits. "Catch him!" they shouted. "The sea will not calm while he breathes." He stumbled through mud and broken reeds, his body shivering with exhaustion. The mark on his chest burned hotter with every step away from the sea. The deeper he went, the heavier his limbs grew, as if the ocean itself was pulling at his blood. Then he saw her, standing on the path ahead, bathed in moonlight, a woman made of mist and water. Her eyes were black pools, her hair flowing though there was no wind. "Stop running," she said. "The sea is not behind you, it's inside you." He tried to speak, but his mouth filled with salt water. He dropped to his knees, choking. When he looked up, the woman was gone. In her place stood a stone arch, carved with spirals, the same mark that burned on his chest. A whisper rose around him, echoing in both his ears and his mind. "Enter. The ancestors await." The trial. When Nuru stepped through the arch, the world changed. He stood in a vast hall made of glistening salt. Water trickled down the walls, and the faces moved within it, the faces of the dead. In the center burned a blue fire without smoke. Around it sat the council of ancestors, 12 figures carved of salt, their features eroded, but their presence immense. The eldest spoke first, his voice like stone cracking. "Nuru of Mbinda, son of the tide and the dust, you broke the covenant of the sea. You stole the breath of Mami Wata and sold it to a mortal king. Why?" Nuru bowed his head. His voice shook. "To save my people. They were starving. I thought the goddess would understand mercy." A woman among the council hissed the sound of wind through hollow shells. "Mercy? The sea gave you a gift meant for reverence, not for profit. You chose hunger of gold over hunger of faith." Another voice, younger, sadder. "Every act of greed stains the tide. You have unleashed imbalance." The eldest lifted a hand. "Still, the sea offers you a path. The goddess has not yet closed her palm. Will you pay the debt?" Nuru looked up. "If I can, yes." "Then hear the judgment." The hall darkened. The salt faces leaned closer, eyes hollow and glowing. "To restore balance, you must retrieve what you sold the sacred scale and return it to the ocean before the next full moon. Only then will Mami Wata withdraw her wrath. Fail, and the sea will claim not only you, but every soul that bears your blood." The words struck like thunder. "How will I find it?" Nuru whispered. The council answered as one, voices weaving like current and wind. "Follow the salt in your veins. It will guide you to the thief who calls himself king." Suddenly, the eldest's eyes flared white. "But know this, mortal. Redemption does not erase the wound, it teaches you to bleed with purpose." He raised his hand, and a blade of crystal appeared, half salt, half water. "This is your bond. With it, carve your vow." Nuru took the blade, trembling. He pressed it to his palm, drew a line of blood, and said, "By salt, by tide, by the breath of the drowned, I will return what I have stolen." The council nodded. Then the hole began to crumble. The fire extinguished itself. He fell tumbling through darkness and sound until he landed back in the mangrove swamp. Alone, the blaze still wet with his blood. The villagers were gone. Only the whisper of the sea remained. The choice. As dawn broke, Nuru rose, dizzy but alive. The mark on his chest pulsed faintly, no longer burning but glowing a compass of light. He looked toward the distant horizon, where the capital lay, and beyond it, the royal vault that held Mami Wata's scale. He exhaled slowly. "I began this with pride. I will end it with purpose." He started walking. Each step left a wet footprint that hissed as if touched by flame. The tide followed him like a shadow, and far out at sea, Mami Wata opened her eyes beneath the waves. A whisper of satisfaction, almost sorrowful, escaped her lips. Let him come. Redemption must earn its salt. The hunted becomes the judged. The sea grants one final chance, not forgiveness, but trial. Next comes task 4, the redemption quest. The salt vow, the lunar deadline, and the blood price of returning what was stolen. The moon had begun to wane when Nuru reached the capital. 3 weeks since the sea's judgment, 3 weeks until the full moon would rise again and decide his fate. The city of Adal's court gleamed under the heat like a mirage. Gold roofs shimmered, banners fluttered, and every fountain gurgled with stolen water. The king's wealth was fed by the sea's grief, though no one in the capital believed in curses. But as Nuru entered the city gates, people stepped aside. His clothes were stiff with salt, his eyes hollow, his skin pale with fever. He looked like something that had walked out of the ocean's grave. The mark on his chest burned brighter each night, a living scar shaped like a spiral, pulsing in rhythm with the moon. It was both a compass and a countdown. The salt path, each step Nuru took, left behind grains of salt that shimmered faintly. He followed them the path his own guild created, through the markets, through the courtyards of song and perfume, until the smell of gold drowned the air. He found the palace, white stone, guards in crimson armor. Beyond the gates King Adal, the man who had bought a goddess's breath and worn it as a trophy. Nuru waited until night. When the moon rose like a single pale eye, he climbed the outer walls, his hands raw and slick. He moved with the silence of the condemned. Inside, the palace corridors shone with torchlight and laughter. The court was celebrating a new fortune gold, mined from dried salt fields, riches that stank of the ocean's fury. He slipped through the shadows, following the pull of the mark on his chest. It beat like a drum when he reached the treasury door. Beyond it lay the scale of Mami Wata, locked in a glass chest, glowing faintly as though remembering the sea. The moment he saw it, his throat closed shame and longing in equal measure. He reached for it, and the alarm sounded. The test of faith. Guards flooded in, swords flashed. Nuru turned, clutching the scale, blood already trickling down his arms where blades had cut him. "Thief!" they shouted. "Traitor of the crown!" He didn't run. He couldn't. The mark burned so hard it felt alive. "I'm not stealing," he said through his teeth. "I'm returning what was never ours. He smashed the glass with his bare hand. The light burst free blue, radiant singing. For a heartbeat, every sound died. Even the guards froze, their eyes wide as the glow washed over them. Then the ground shook. Water began seeping through the stones. The torches hissed and died. From the cracks rose voices, the sound of distant waves, the roar of forgotten storms. A single drop of seawater landed on Nuru's cheek. It burned like acid. "She's here," he whispered. The guards fled. The vision of the goddess. The air turned cold. The palace dissolved into darkness. Nuru stood alone in an endless ocean of black water. The scale hovered before him, pulsing with silver light. Then she appeared, Mami Wata, emerging from the depths like a dream that remembers pain. Her eyes shone like two mirrors, reflecting all his sins back at him. "You returned to the thief's house," she said. "You brought the breath back to the surface. But have you learned the weight of it?" Nuru fell to his knees. "I have. I thought gold could feed hunger. But hunger returns. Guilt stays." The goddess circled him slowly. The water rose around his body, cold as forgiveness never given. "Then speak your vow,"